as a parent, one of the biggest fears you have is passing something bad that you have in your system, whether that be, cancer or heart disease or whatever else, passing one of those genetic things down to your kids. And there's a little bit of confusion about all of this. And so ultimately, that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm Dr. Jeff Cumro, and over the past 15 years, I've had the pleasure of working with thousands of people and really just help them optimize their brain function. And when we can get that brain function optimized, it doesn't matter what type of scenario you're in. If you're in a learning scenario, or if you're in something that is really, really stressful, or if you're just trying to relax, your brain can grab the right program and bring it forward to give you the success for the environment you're in. So, talking about all of this, it's something that's an in-depth thing, right? And everybody looks at things and they're like, I'm going to have that because my father had it, my grandfather had it, my mother had it, my grandmother had it, whatever it may be. They're like, I'm stuck with this, and I hear it almost every day. I heard it again yesterday. Somebody was talking about, that's just a genetic thing, and that's something I'm stuck with. And in most cases, these are not genetic things. Now, what I want to talk about today is how we can increase the odds that we don't pass something down, right? There are different ways that things pass down. Obviously, there are some genetic things that get passed down. And if you have those genetic things, then it's something that is a higher likelihood that you're going to pass it down, and there's not much you're going to be able to do about it. The percentage of that is very, very low. Last I saw, it's about 3 to 5% on those. It depends on what study's done. As with all of this stuff, it depends on what they factor in and everything like that. But it's a very, very small percentage of things that are actually genetic. In most cases, when we say, something runs in the family or something is genetic, what they're meaning is it's epigenetic in nature. And epigenetics are a difficult thing. So when we look at genetics, it's basically, this is the blueprint, right? You're going to make this, and you're more likely to pass it on and all of that stuff. But your genes don't necessarily write your fate, because your genes are there, but there's on and off switch. The epigenetics are essentially the on and off switch. If the epigenetic marker gets turned on, the gene gets expressed. If the epigenetic marker is turned off, the gene does not get expressed. So it's kind of a little bit of variance, right? It doesn't guarantee that you're going to have things. You might be a little bit more prone to something, but you can change your epigenetic markers, and that's the amazing thing about all of this. Now, the epigenetic markers are interesting in that different studies show that anywhere from 7 generations to 13 generations are affected by the decisions that you're making today. So the decisions you're making today are going to affect people, 600 to 1,000 years from now. Think about that. How crazy is that? But over the last 50 to 75 years, we've seen a lot more change. We've had a lot more chemicals that are introduced into our environment. We've had a lot more use of different food additives. We've had different dietary changes. We've had all of these different things that have been added in. And so we're seeing an explosion of some of these epigenetic things. All the diabetes, all the cancers, all these different things. A lot of that is epigenetic in nature, and it's due to the choices that were made a few generations ago. Now, is that something that is on them? Like, if your children get something, should you blame yourself? Absolutely not. Because we know what we know, and we do what we do. And it's one of those things where the parents that I've been around, they're going to do the best that they can do with the information they have, right? And I'm sure that you're the same way. It's the same way I am. I make mistakes all the time, but I did the best that I could with the information I had. And it's the same thing. So there's absolutely no reason to blame yourself on this, but there are things that you can do to improve the odds that you don't pass something like that down. There's things that you can do if you already have kids and you're done having kids to decrease the odds that they actually end up expressing those things. What are those things? They're healthy things, right? Dietary changes, eating better, exercising would be a very good one. Keeping them from, alcohol, drugs, smoking, things like that. Anything that you can do to improve their overall healthy decision making is going to improve their epigenetic expression. Why is that? Good health changes are going to turn on those good epigenetic markers and turn off the bad epigenetic markers. read a study on exercise here not long ago, and I believe it was 141 epigenetic markers that were changed with exercise that they found. So, I mean, it's a massive number of things that get changed with that, right? Same thing with bad changes. You see those people that they smoke and they drink and they, only eat junk food and everything like that, and they still live to be 100 years old, right? You're like, oh, I can do that and get away with it. But that's not the case. You look at their kids, and a lot of times their kids are the ones that end up with, the illnesses, whether that be lung cancer or whatever else. Why? It's the poor lifestyle decisions that they were making had a change in their epigenetic markers, and they passed that down onto their kids. So their kids are the ones that expressed it later on when they started smoking and drinking and doing the same things. So again, this is not a blame game. This is not something that you sit back and you feel bad about any of this stuff. You do the best that you can with the information you have. So if you are worried about your kids actually coming onto some of these things, what decisions can you make to change that? How can you encourage them to get more active? And one of the things that I talk about all the time is getting kids to eat healthily is very, very difficult, but it gets easier in certain ways. If you take them shopping with you, and I know a lot of you are kind of questioning my sanity right now, because taking kids shopping with you can be an adventure, right? But if you take them shopping with you and you give them the choice, like you can have this healthy thing or this healthy one, which one do you prefer? It gives them decision-making control, which is ultimately what they want. They want to be a part of it. So it gives them that opportunity to develop their decision-making skills, and they've got the option of two healthy things. So it helps you move them in the right direction there. Even better if you take them to the grocery store and you give them those choices, and then you bring them home and you have them help you make it. When they have a hand in making things, they're more likely to eat them, right? So we can do these things where we get them more involved in the decision making, and it helps them roll in the right direction. Not only that, but it's also going to help them make better decisions in the future, right? It gets them into that healthy mindset. If you explain why we're making those things, how many more nutrients these have, how much, how many vitamins, how much, better, macro profile, whether that be carbs, protein, or fat, or whatever it may be. Eating fish, having the healthy fatty acids in there, are something that's important. When you get them involved and you help them understand why you're making those decisions, it helps them make better decisions as we go. So, that's really the thing that is on my mind today. The thing that I really wanted to share with you guys. And like I said, if you're there, you're there, and there's not any blame on this. There's not any reason to feel bad about this. It's just a matter of where are we right now and what can we do to get to that next stage. But when we look at a lot of the disease processes in our society today, the diabetes and the heart disease and the cancer and even the learning disorders, ADHD, autism, dyslexia, things like that, most of them are epigenetic in nature. Rabdin or Malone, I believe, are the ones that, it was either them or Leisman and Malillo, one or the other, on the research article that has come to mind right now. It talks about how, that autism is an epigenetic disorder. And the great thing about the epigenetic disorders, it gives us an opportunity to make a change. And when we can make a change, you're not stuck with that, right? So many people look at this as, I'm stuck with that. That is my fate. And that's not the case in any of this. So instead of saying, I am stuck with this, I want you to ask a different question. I want you to reframe this and say, how can I change my fate? Because in most times, you have more control than you think. So, as always, I really appreciate you taking the time to join me. I know that your time and attention are your most valuable resources. And, if you have any questions on any of this stuff, please let me know. Like or subscribe. It gives me a lot of good information as far as what type of information is most helpful for you, so I can share more of it. So, I hope you have a great day, and I'll catch you on next week's video.